Welcome to Denim Quilting. I'm Glenda Burton, and today I'm going to show you how I make my Starry Night quilt block. This block is based off of Material Girlfriend's Confetti Star block, which I will link to down below in the description. To make my Starry Night quilt, I made 34 of this block and 30 of this block. To make my blocks, I used 64 denim 10-inch squares, and I used 25 10-inch squares from a layer cake. I had my handy dandy seam ripper. I used my clips and my pins, my handy dandy 2.5 inch by 12-inch ruler. Scissors come in handy. My rotary cutter. My rotating mat comes in very handy for this project. And since I also needed a longer ruler, I used my 24.5 inch by 6.5 inch ruler. To make the blocks, we need to cut our denim squares. First, we will cut them in half diagonally. And this is where the longer ruler comes in handy. And you could probably cut more than one at a time. I'm just for demonstration purposes, and for me personally, I did them maybe 2 at a time at most, just so that they were cut accurately. Then we take our 2.5 by 12-inch ruler, lay it along the diagonal, and make a 2-inch strip, or 2.5-inch strip. And do the same thing to the other side. So we'll have 2 diagonal 2.5-inch strips, and then we're going to cut on the, I'm left-handed here. So line up your ruler along the edge of your strip and make a cut. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to do this on both strips. Okay, so now what we have is we have 2 triangles, 4 diamonds, and 2 half hexies. We're going to set those aside. Now I kept mine together because, like I said, I utilized the diamonds for 30 of the blocks, and 34 of the blocks I did not need them. But I kept them together because it's still going to be scrappy. I mean, if you wanted them to be scrappier, you don't have to keep them together, but I kept mine together. Then for our print strips and for print diamonds, to make those, I took my 10-inch square and I cut it into 2.5-inch strips. And then I cut my 2.5-inch strips into I'm going to cut this one. I was crooked. Let me straighten this out. Make sure you cut accurately. I'm a little crooked. this one. Okay, so to make our diamonds, first we cut at a 45. So line your 45 up along your cut edge, bottom of your cut edge, and trim it off. And then from there, you can just, I'm going to switch it. Basically, you just line your rule up on your 45 and cut. And this is how I got all my print diamonds. Now we just need to repiece it together. So to make this block, we'll need our two triangle pieces, our two hexies, and 4 prints. So we won't need these triangles for this block. We'll just need our 4 pieces, or 4 diamonds. We'll need our 2 hexies, and we'll need our 2 diamonds. I mean our 2 triangles. We have 4 diamonds, 2 triangles, 2 hexies. And I'm going to go ahead and remember to flip these over so that they're little floppy ears. Do your ears hang low? Do they swing to and fro? It's kind of a little jingle to remember which way they go. Clip them, and remember that you need an overhang of a quarter of an inch overhang on the top so that when you iron them open, they will come out even. So I'll go ahead and clip these together. We can make sure that they are flopped down. The ears are flopped down. And we have a little bit of a quarter of an inch above each one. And I'm off to the sewing machine, and I'll sew these, and I'll come back and show you the next step. All right, we're back from the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and clip the little dog ears off. Maybe I'll cut the dog ears off. All right, and when I ironed it, I ironed my print towards the away because the denim is pretty thick, so to make them flat, I ironed towards the dark. I don't know if it's towards the dark or what it is, but anyway, I ironed them out in my world. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew these two together. I'm going to line up my seams here and here and put in some pins. Okay, let's sew through together. The same thing on this other side. Hook into the seam. That should, which it does, make a match. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew them together. All right, I sewed my 2 pieces together, and now I need to add my 2 triangles. Basically, just flip them over and make sure they're centered between the 2 points. And clip them together. We don't have to worry about lining up any of our seams because there's no seam to there's no seams that need to meet up. Points in. Center between. Just eyeball it. You can use pins or you can use these nifty little clips. I'm gonna go to the sewing machine and I'm gonna do my 1/4 inch seam on that side and a 1/4 inch seam on that side. To make our half blocks, basically what I did was I used 2 of our print diamonds, the 2 hexies, 2 of the denim diamonds, and the triangles. We sew those together with our little make our floppy little ears and sew these together. Now you can pin these or clip them. I'm just going to clip them and go ahead and clip these. Oops, there's my clips. Don't fall over. Okay, so I'm going to clip these and then I'll take these to the sewing machine and sew them and then I'll bring them back. But before I bring them back, I will go ahead and iron them flat. Just remember to keep your little floppy ears hanging low so that they're nice, so that you remember which way they go. All right, I'm going to go sew these and then and iron them and I'll be right back. All right, I've sewed these together and I'm going to clip these little dog ears off. I mean, you don't have to, but less bulk. I'm going to go ahead and clip them off now. And then we're going to sew these together. I gotta lay it out. Okay, so we're going to sew these together. So I'm going to sew these 2 together. And I'm going to line up. The 2 that I need to be concerned about lining up are these 2 seams. So I'll go ahead and put a pin in there so I know where it's at. And to make sure that they're lined up, you can just roll it back after you pin it. Make sure that they line up. So see, they line up pretty well. I'm going to do the same thing to this one side. This one's not going to be quite as noticeable because it's the same fabric, but it's the denim. The denims are matching. But again, all I do is just kind of roll it back and make sure that my seams, it's hard to tell, but there's a seam there and a seam there, and they do line up. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine, sew these together, and I'm going to iron and come back and we'll attach the sides. We've sewed these on to the sides, and then we've sewn these 2 pieces together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the triangles on. You can find the middle of it if you want by folding it in half and creasing it. Basically, I'm just going to flip it over and center it to the best of my ability because we will have room to. This is a pretty forgiving block when we trim it up, square it up. So basically, I'm going to put the sides on each side. There's one side. Do the same thing to the other side. Oops. Make sure my right sides are facing. And I'm just going to eyeball it. See, just eyeballing it. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew those on, and then I will come back and I will show you how I iron it, and then I'll trim it up. I'm here at my ironing board and I'm going to show you how I attempt to iron these. I have my iron set on high and it's got water in it for steam because it helps relax the denim. So basically, set our seam. And roll it back. Do the same thing to the other side. Roll it back. And then I go to the other side. As you can see, it doesn't always go the direction it's supposed to go. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and move it over to the main direction that everybody went. There goes the steam. It was a little slow today. Been sitting. And I want this one to lay flat. These two have to go this way, so I'll go ahead and encourage them to go the other way. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim it and the other one up, and we'll be done. All right, I've got this lined up. Since I don't have a 8.5 inch square, I'm going to use my rotating mat here, and I'm using my line in the middle here, my seam line, and I'm putting that on my 45 to 45. That way I can go ahead and square it up. And then I just find the closest one I can and trim it off. And I can just rotate it and do the same thing on the other side. And sometimes it does slip. I just line it right back up and rotate it again. Get that one squared up. Okay, so there's one. We'll do the same thing to the other one we did. Line up on our 45 and line up on our 45. And pick the closest line. I don't want to take off too much for right now, because if I manage to sew really badly, then I won't be able to work with what I have. It's aligned. And there we go. 2 squared blocks. 2 blocks for our Starry Night quilt block. Thanks for watching, subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. I hope you found this tutorial inspiring. Hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I upload a new videos. Please comment below with blocks you'd like me to make with denim. See you in the video. Bye for now.